It is none other than Mr. Andros, who is the lead solutions architect of NCS, and he has a wealth of expertise in his area of work, particularly in metaverse, digital twin, and virtual spaces. Okay, so he will be talking about navigating the future and NCS innovations and opportunities for early careers. So keep your ears attentive and your eyes peeled, hands together, and let's welcome Mr. Andros.
Thank you very much. As I'm the last speaker, I hope to make the whole session a little bit more interesting. So what I'm going to be running through essentially is a little bit of my life journey within NCS itself. I'm going to be introducing to you about a little bit about NCS, and also I'm also going to be introducing to you on some of the interesting programs that we have for IT students, for diploma holders, as well as for degree holders. In fact, I see somebody that is very familiar at the back down there. Okay, before I start the whole talk, let me sell a little bit of Koyo and let me play you a corporate video. It's actually quite cool.
Alright, let's try to hit replay on the video with audio this time. Thank you guys for your patience.
Don't worry, this is something that always happens at every single presentation. Right? Sound not working, things not showing up, things that should show up don't show up, things that shouldn't show up still show up, it happens. Alright, this is IT. Your key skill in this kind of situation is knowing how to react, how to resolve problems, how to entertain your guests while the thing is still working at the back. Okay. I'll just basically let it play without sound for now, so bear with me. Alright, essentially it's just telling you all what our journey has been like for the last 40 years and what it's going to be like for the next 40 years. So bear with us for a while. Oh, okay. So a little bit more about myself before I go into what NCS is all about. I'm a lead architect in NCS. Right now I'm doing a lot of metaverse projects. So anything that ends with R, AR, VR, XR, whatever R you can find out there, likelihood I'm going to be involved in it. And I have been in this company for 17 years. So I just realized there's a term for me, it's called a lifer. Alright, it means that I am likely going to start my job here and probably end it down there as well. So one of the interesting things is that my very first initial major milestone in this job right was when I hit my first $1 million deal single-handedly. Alright, so I came up with a solution, I did a proposal, I submitted everything together with the help of some salespeople, but eventually when we went to the proposal stage at time, when we did the presentation, we told everybody how great our product is, trust Andros can deliver for you, and we really got the project itself. So that really gave us the sense that there was a sense of achievement that I really hit my initial milestone. So how I actually got started was with NCS was when years and years ago, I do not know whether Straits Times still have this thing called Scholar's Choice, where you can actually go and look at all the scholarship programs that are made available. So there was one put up by NCS. So I signed up for it, went through a few rounds of interview, bonded for 5 years, and then the rest is history, as I say. Okay. So in terms of my growth and development, the learning truly never ever stops. Even when you are doing projects, even when you are sleeping the time, somehow you are still learning about stuff. Alright, every single project, every single thing that you do in NCS at time, it's always a learning opportunity. And not to mention that they always create all these learning programs for you to always learn. In fact, later on I'll be sharing a lot of interesting graduate programs that we will have. Right? Then the one thing about the environment is that there is always encouragement for you to learn. In fact, we have an ex-NCS staff in the audience itself. Later on, you can go and question him about how I also force them to learn stuff along the way, even though they know nothing about cloud, and we still force them to do research on cloud. So there are things like that that will happen. And my journey, personally, I started out as a code monkey. A programmer, alright? So go in, you learn how to do your development stuff. Then later on, right, you become a little bit better, you become a lead developer. Then as things happen, you take on more responsibilities, right? You become an assistant engineer. So my first big break was when I started to do pre-sales. So as a pre-sales consultant, with all the experience of doing the development stuff, when you grow, you start to basically engage people in opportunities before it actually becomes an actual proposal. And a few years of that, I have reached this stage. This is how I feel, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm at the top of the company as well, alright? Right now, I'm a lead architect. Since my job scope essentially is to basically put together solutions, make sure it is viable and works for the customer, and eventually roll it out and make sure that it really runs. So that's currently my responsibility. And what I do now, interestingly enough, is in the space of metaverse. So we've been working with banks who is trying to figure out how to make the metaverse interesting for their customers. Is it something that they can actually bring banking services into the metaverse itself? Is it supposed to be training in metaverse? Or is it supposed to be creating an engagement platform where I want every single person to come into my organization to look at the services in the metaverse, in the 3D space, and talk about things in the 3D space itself? So we are at the stage of exploration with all our customers, which makes my job very interesting because it's very experimental. In fact, if we have a chance to meet up in future, next year TechX Summit, alright, we want to bring a very interesting project for you guys to see, but that's another time. So personally, my values with the company, as you can see down here, is AEIOU, alright? It aligns with my company values itself. Personally, I'm always one of the key points is that we must be adventurous, alright? So I always find myself to be very adaptable. As you can see, my journey itself, right, from development, from project management, from things like solutioning all these things, right? These are what makes me change my scope of work along the way, and that makes me grow in my position as well. Then, I think the part on excellence, when we say we don't believe in half measures, when we come up with good solutions, when we treat our customers with integrity, all these things, right? I think that is without a doubt that we must say. So integrity, I wouldn't talk much about it. Because that is without a doubt something that is given that everybody who works in NCS, when we deal with customers, when we push out our solutions, when we tell customers things, right, it is with integrity. Now, one thing I would like to highlight on is ownership. Now, ownership is something very interesting because every single project you are given, right, it's not a task that somebody orders you to do, but each and every one of us, we take ownership of the task that was given to us, we treat it as if it's our own, and we make sure that we drive it to success. So currently, for myself, I am in charge of 3 major projects, and I have a personal vested interest to make sure that all these 3 projects are driven to success. And what drives me is not because I will get a bad rating if I don't deliver the projects, but rather because I feel pride when I deliver these projects and my customers are happy with the results, and when there is an impact to the nation as well. So that's why I take personal pride in the things that I do. Then last of all, in terms of unity, all right, for NCS, right, one of the things that we want to promote is that you are never alone. When you deliver your projects in whatever you do, you are always with a group of people, and this group of people are always willing to come out, take a step forward, and always come to support you. So that's more about me. I think I better stand this side, so sorry about that. Okay, so a little bit more about NCS. We started out as NCB in 1981. Then later on, we became corporatized NCS in 1996, and then we got bought over by Singtel in 1997. So as of today, according to Gartner reports, we are #1 in Singapore and Southeast Asia, being the leading systems integrator or tech partner, right? And today we have a $2.4 billion revenue, right? That is no small feat for a local MNC itself. And for NCS, if you look at the top right side, right now we have about 12,000 members across the region. All right, these are people inclusive of myself, from the manager. So we deal with at least at any one point of time 4,000 projects in Singapore and the region. So you can imagine how busy we all are to keep on delivering things for our customer, right? So if you look at the very bottom part here, so initially when we did our focus for our business, right, we were looking at things like in the government sector, in defense and homeland security, and traditionally we started out with applications, infrastructure, which is all your networking and engineering. By the way, did you all know that for a period of time, a lot of the traffic lights in Singapore was managed by NCS? Yeah, this is actually under the engineering folks. Then of course our business are all started in Singapore. But when we look at how we are expanding in these few years, right, we are now looking at the other industries, things like your comms, media, finances, healthcare, and we are also expanding into cybersecurity. We are going into digital cloud platforms, and most of all, if those of you who are interested in a job and there are opportunities to go overseas, we are also expanding into Greater China, Australia, and the rest of the other APAC region. Okay, so being an SI, right, I mean, the bottom line that you want to earn money, that one is of course a given, but we have a greater mission. We want to advance communities by working with government organizations, harnessing technology, right, to bring about solutions, right, that would directly or indirectly better the lives of our residents, our Singapore citizens as well. So that's one of our very lofty goals. So later on, I'll be talking a little bit more about the AEIOU beliefs, all right? Because I believe we are looking for people who share the same belief as us. And impact-wise, I think this is without a doubt that we definitely value our clients. We want to grow our people. Later on, we will see quite a number of programs that we are introducing in order to our potential employees coming into us, then creating the future. This is where I hope that I'm standing at, because when I say create the future, because right now I'm doing a lot of the metaverse stuff. I'm hoping that we can bring about new technologies to eventually consumers like yourself, or even to other organizations. Okay, that was the company goals. Now this chart, very busy looking stuff, is the company's commitment to us as employees. Now if you look at it, right, the caring workplace, it may seem a little bit over the top, but there is no doubt that the culture in NCS itself, right, is actually very focused on the people, because without people, there's no way you can deliver anything at all. So most of the bosses that I've been working with, when I say most, right, is because the rest that are the minority already left the company. Right? I have the fortune of being able to work with good bosses, good mentors, to be able to give me the opportunity to grow and to be able to stand where I stand today and talking to you. All right. Then the types of work that we do, definitely impactful, because a lot of it is government related, and those services that you use today, things like your CPF services, HDB services, when you buy a BPO, likelihood it came from us. Then growth and personal mastery, I won't touch more on this because this is something that I will be talking about a little bit more later. Then your career discovery and choices, right? There is a lot of this. Later on, you can actually scan the QR code to find out what the career paths are. Then inspiring teams, okay lah. This one, working for the correct bosses will inspire you to want to work every day. All right. For me, I'm lucky. My boss inspired me to want to work harder and deliver good solutions to my customers. Okay, so when we talked about impactful work, right, I think one of the great examples of how NCS has actually contributed, right, is especially during the period of circuit breaker. It was a very tough time. A lot of businesses couldn't run. In fact, the government agencies had a lot of difficulty running some of their projects. So one of the things that we did, I was personally involved in this particular project itself. During the segregation, where we actually have to put people into isolation facilities, those isolation facilities actually needed IT systems to back up. They needed SMS systems. They needed a lot of things. So we had a bunch of people, right, who are very brave. All right, they physically went down to support, even though they know that there's going to be exposure to the COVID-19 back then. Back then, it was quite a scary thing that we had. So we wouldn't know that if we get infected, what would actually happen. but we still had a bunch of people that actually went down there to support the Ministry of Health to do all the IT setup, to make sure that everything is running, to make sure that the people who are isolated can still continue to communicate with the outside world, right? Then of course later on, right, we also introduced things like the temperature self-check kiosks in order to reduce the what do you call it, the contactless temperature self-kiosk. And later on, right, we also have things like safe entry at sea. Now, safe entry at sea is very much like the safe entry that you all have used in the last few years, all right? But safe entry at sea is basically for people, for the seafaring folks that are coming into Singapore and they want to disembark and get into Singapore. This is some of the things that we have actually done. Okay. So I was talking earlier on about the different types of programs and opportunities that are available within NCS itself. I feel a bit fortunate or unfortunate. During my time that time, we didn't cater so much for have so much programs to actually cater to grow our IT graduates, our poly graduates, and our university graduates. In fact, right now, it really doesn't matter where you are at in your study journey itself, all right, your learning journey. As long as you have the right mindset, the right skill set, and you want to develop in the right way, there are opportunities for you to grow. So for example, for Ignite, we have IT graduates coming to join us while they are studying. They are also learning as well as getting ready to get their diploma. Then of course, you also have the Fusion, and this is something that is already ongoing already. This is something that's being offered to Polytechnic graduates who join NCS. As again, they work with us. As they work, they will also get to earn their degree as well. Then for nucleus, for the university graduates who will come in as a fresh degree holder, then I think there is some sort of like a 5-year program, right, that eventually that allows us to gain a master's. All right. Okay, a little bit more goyo now. I promise if the music was on, this is a way more exciting video. My apologies for no sound. Hey, by the way, those are real people working in NCS, not models that we hire just for the video. Sorry, can somebody help me play this video on the side down here? Thanks. Okay, for those of you who have never been to NCS, right, you have never seen how the old NCS look like. We have renovated. The whole building actually looks very, very interesting now. So this is also partially to attract young talents like yourself to join us, that you have a very nice working environment, not just the old, very stuffy looking offices that we had previously. So if you have the opportunity, do come down, visit us, all right? By the way, our bistro serves beer if you want. Okay, then, okay, moving on. Okay, this will be the most interesting picture that you all will have for the entire speech itself. Now, within NCS, we got 69 practices. So, as long as there is an interest in technology, in IT, whether it's to do with infrastructure or anything, right, there is a place for you within NCS because there's so many practices. And one of the great things about NCS is that, for myself especially, the playground is so big. I've been here for 17 years, I've been performing in different roles, and there are always opportunities for you to basically jump around these different areas to basically learn more, to be able to contribute to your company and also to your personal growth as well. So this is one of the reasons why I stuck around so long, being able to move within the company and learn more things. Okay, so rounding up, why we would want to look for you is that we hope that you will also share the same values as us, being adventurous, so that you come join us, you're willing to try out new things, be able to learn new things, all right, just like I have along the way. Excellence without emphasizing too much, right? Essentially, is for you all to be good in whatever you do, all right? Be able to deliver what you want to deliver to the very best of your abilities. Then integrity, this one I don't need to talk too much about it, but this is what we also want to inculcate, that when you join NCS, the work that is given to you is not work, it's actually part and parcel of your personal deliverables. You want to be able to own it, you want to be able to feel that you're vested in it, you want to feel that I have done a good job when you finally deliver it. It's not something that you just go as a 9 to 5 kind of thing. It shouldn't be this. Right? Then last of all, I strongly believe in this because I've been here for 17 years. I have seen teams break because people are not unified together. The only thing that works is because the team are willing to support each other, and I have the fortune of being in teams that always pull together, being able to support each other when things don't go well, or when somebody accidentally deletes a whole file of code, then have to work overnight to replace it. By the way, I was the one who accidentally deleted the code, so my colleagues have to support me to replace the code kind of thing. So it's things like it that makes you learn along the way, which I find that the experience is truly valuable. So what I hope that this sharing would help to let you be more curious about what NCS has to offer. Do scan these QR codes to find out more about the different programs. All right, and if you all have questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Yeah, thanks very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Andros Lee. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, so we'll keep you here for a few more moments to ask you some questions in our Q&A. So we're going to open the question to the floor right now. Does anyone have any insightful or interesting bones to pick? Maybe it could be a question about NCS. It could be a question about, his own personal career journey. All right, I'll start the ball. Okay, we have a question over there close to the back. So could you just introduce your name, followed by a question?
Hi, Adam here. I just wanted to understand NCS company policy in terms of working from home. Yeah, how is it like? Because from IT perspective, you can technically do remote work.
Oh, definitely. Okay. For the majority of today I talk about the current practice that we have. So out of 5 days, 3 days are designated that you need to be in office. All right, the last 2 days, you are definitely able to work from home. But this is also subjected to the kind of work that you do. So for myself, currently I'm involved in a project that involves integrating Raspberry Pi into 3D printed objects. Then I need to physically integrate things together. Right? Unfortunately, that one I can't work from home for that. So those are the things that I need to do. But most of my other colleagues that are doing basically development work, they can work from home. I mean, it's encouraged that you work from home because the thing is that we don't really, how should I say? Okay, this is not very good, but we don't care where you are. As long as you deliver what you're supposed to deliver, can already. Yeah, simple as that.
All right, we have another question over here.
Hi, I'm Kevin. Just asking whether you have any words of advice for people who are interested in coming to NCS. Anything or tips to get hired or things to look out for when you're interviewing for the graduate program, things like that.
Personally, okay, technical skills are definitely going to be a given when entering any IT industry. I think ultimately the thing that we're looking for is attitude. All right. You are a fresh grad coming into NCS. We don't expect you to be geniuses at coding stuff. We don't expect you to know things. Hello? Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. So we don't expect you to be the best when you first enter. But the thing is that what we do expect is for you to be able to learn to be able to ask the right questions, all right, to ask for help when you need it. Right? Because we have cases where people, up to the last deadline, they don't tell you things, then on one day before the deadline, they drop things to you and say, sorry, I don't know how to do this. It's very difficult for us to deliver. But it's the attitude that we're looking for, all right? Because technical skill set, you already covered that already, all right? But you don't have to have immense technical knowledge, but enough for you to get started. Ultimately, like I mentioned, it's your attitude that matters. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for answering that question. Do we have any more curious minds in the room? Okay, so I'm gonna circle back to the question that I was thinking of while listening to you as well. So we've had a very good mix of speakers over the last 2 days, and as I mentioned, you are the last one. So I'm gonna pick your brain at this. So we had a very interesting first day versus second day. Okay, so first day, the speakers were saying that, oh, you know, we recommend job hopping in the early parts of your career. And it's something that a lot of people find taboo these days, you know, especially for the more traditional companies. You know, they usually prefer to see that you've been loyal to your companies for at least 3 to 5 years. But these days, companies see a lot of 1 year to 2 years if you're lucky. So I guess it's a two-part question. One, as someone who has been in NCS for all these years, and I believe you are also sometimes part of the hiring process, right? What is your personal opinion when it comes to that? And as someone who has been, as you call yourself a lifer, right? I'm guessing that means your first company was NCS. So did you ever have moments where, you know, you had your peers ask you, hey, you're in this company for so long already, I think it's about time that you left. Did you have that, you know, almost urge to actually, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna try something else? Yeah.
Okay, I've been asked this question many times before. In my 17 years in NCS itself, right? Of course, there are times where you feel like you want to try something new. Of course, there are times where people will approach you from the outside. Hey, Andros, come join us. Don't stay in NCS anymore. NCS is very boring already. But I think it's also a matter of the timing as well as the opportunities that arise along the way. I would say that everything in my 17 years of life happened because I made the conscious decision to stay on for 17 years. But rather, at each juncture of my life where I'm about to make that step, somehow my bosses sense that this guy is getting bored already. Let's assign him something new. Let's push him into something new. And I think one of the things is that the ability to accept changes when you are too comfortable in one part, sometimes you don't feel like moving, then you don't learn things. So I've learned in my last 7 or 8 years at time, I've learned to basically accept things that will change, and when the change comes at time, be ready to adapt to it. Now, for the people who so-called job hop, I don't think it's a bad thing, alright? Because sometimes within the job itself, you feel that there is no progression, you are not able to move like I fortunately have been able to move, then you basically change an organization, get a fresh perspective. That is something that I believe is a freedom of your choice, and you should be able to do it. You should be able to do it. Not say that there are some HR folks at the back standing up there staring at me doing this question, right? But the thing is, it's still a choice I made to stay down here. I like what I'm doing, and every change that is made, right, has been beneficial to myself. So for those of you, and as I look at your CV that you job hop on, right, I don't treat it as a bad thing. I look at you, right, as wanting to try something new. You are a person who always wants to try something new. Then yes, then this is somebody I would like to try to take on and make sure that the work that is given to them is something very interesting to make them stick around more. So that's my personal take.
All right, and a follow-up question to that. Do you think the responsibility lies on the employee or the employer to figure out when it's time to give you a new challenge?
It's both ways, all right? It's always a two-way track, all right? As an employer, having so many people under them, right, there's no way they can pay attention to every single individual, all right? But in saying that, because I currently am a supervisor for a team of 12, so it's a small team, so I have oversight of everybody, what's happening with everybody. So I know when they are getting bored, I know when they're getting tired, so they can actually, before things happen, they can actually, I'll try to arrest the problem. But sometimes that things I may miss out, they come and talk to me, I will try to alleviate their concerns also. So I definitely believe it's definitely a two-way track. It cannot be just, you expect the boss to always be the one to come and say, hey, how are you, it cannot be also. So it has to be, you must tell the boss sometimes that, hey, I'm tired of this one already, then can you help me now? Now, I also believe that as a boss, right, if you don't listen to your team members or your employees, right, then very soon people are going to leave you. I think you all may have heard of the old adage called people don't leave job, people leave bad bosses, right? Some of you may have heard that. I strongly believe in that. The reason why I stuck around is because, again, by fortune that I have had a lot of good bosses in my 17 years in NCS. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.